You know, I've had this quilt top for a while, and I really like it, but I haven't quilted it. Why? Well, it's kind of busy, and it's pieced with some cotton velveteen. So I knew when I quilted it, it had to be bold. And I finally figured out what's bold enough to do this little quilt top justice. And it's embroidery yarn couching. Oh my goodness. It really takes this little quilt to the next level. I think I'm totally hooked. And I think maybe after a little bit, you might be too. I'm Kathy. This is Sewing Tech Talk. Let's go bold with some embroidery. So I think the bold embroidery is really doing this little quilt justice. And it comes on the Stellair too. And if you've upgraded your Stellair, I think this is part of that upgrade. Yarn embroidery is pretty exciting. It's called yarn embroidery couching, and you do it with a yarn or a big fiber like that. I think yarn is probably the way to go. So there's lots of different designs that are built into the machine. So let's explore those and let's see what we can do. So if you go to the embroidery tab and then you look at all the different fun categories, but you see down here where it says C, and C is for yarn couching. And there's two different little areas. This is a really bold like alphabet. So when I go in here, these are really large, cool alphabet letters, and there's small case, uppercase, all kinds of different stuff. Now, don't think of these as you have to spell something, which you certainly can. I used them. I took the zero and the little period in the middle, and I made myself a little sheepy. Pretty cool, right? So this is yarn couching, and I use like a cotton kind of a yarn for it, and I just did this in some sort of embroidery. So this was pretty fun. Now I'm going to use a different kind of design, another built-in design on my quilt. Let's under that other tab. So let's go return and explore under here. Now look at all these different fun yarn couching designs. Each one of these is made for yarn couching. So I've been using this one. I really like it. And if you can see how that design, it's kind of like a little, well, it's a couching stitch, obviously, but it goes in like a little circle. Let's set it, and I can get close and you can see. So when I hit set and I bring that design up a little bit closer, and we'll magnify it, can you see the way that cool, it's like a little arrows going around. So now this design is made for yarn couching, obviously, as all the other ones are in this tab. When I say OK, and I go to embroidery, what the machine is going to do is going to show me that I need that special yarn couching foot, and it comes with a Stellair, and that's the Y foot. Y for yarn couching. Get it? So this is a special embroidery foot, and it's going to suggest that you use that. Let me show you what that looks like. So you get three different accessories that come in for yarn couching. This is that special Y foot. I'm going to talk about this in a little bit. You get a little like a needle threader, like to thread the yarn through that hole. It's like a wire. You can use it, you don't have to. Sometimes I find the yarn just goes through easily. And then this is the EC part, which is for embroidery couching. This is going to go on the side of the machine, and the yarn is going to come through here and here and go down to where, here's the foot, let me get it orientated, and it's going to come through this little pigtail guide over here. So we put this on the machine. So this goes on the side of the machine just like this. That little arm goes towards the back. And then the yarn is threaded through that pigtail and through the opening in the foot. So let's go back to this little foot so that you can see it pretty close up. The yarn's going to go through this little pigtail after it comes down that couching guide, and then through the hole in the foot. And the needle's going to come down through here and catch that yarn with that little serpentine that we saw, that little couching stitch. Now, take a look at how the yarn's coming through. It's coming through on the right side. So basically what you need to do when you first get your foot and the first time you put it on your machine, you're going to use this little adjustment screw on the left, right here, and you're going to move the needle of your machine so that it's hitting just on the right side of that foot. Now, that's a lot of information, right? There's a video on the machine. So when you come into the machine, you can go into the information section, the help section, and you could look under video. Once you look under video, you're going to go to embroidery, because that's what we're doing. And under embroidery, you're going to choose the yarn couching, which is this little icon right here. It shows that foot with the little yarn going through it. Now, once you do that, you select that, it's going to take you through step by step of the process of threading up your machine and getting everything ready to go. And it's going to suggest how to, going to give you, it's actually a really good video to show you exactly how you're going to adjust that foot in relationship to your needle. Why doesn't it come pre-adjusted? Well, every machine might be slightly different. And what we want is we want that needle to graze just that left side of that opening. So that's where the yarn is coming down, and we want to catch the yarn as much as we can. Your machine might be slightly different. When you adjust it, you obviously don't want it to hit the metal, and you don't want it to deflect as it comes down. So just watch the video. Take a look at your machine, do the little adjustment using your multi-purpose screwdriver that comes with your machine, and you should be good to go. Now, let's talk a little bit about thread and yarn. So yarn, as you can imagine, is kind of important in yarn couching, right? I have found that, well, there's a couple things I really look for when I look for yarn. I'm going to look through something that basically fits through the hole, obviously, but it flows really easily. I want a yarn that's going to flow really easily. And I don't want a yarn that's very loosely twisted, because if it's loosely twisted, sometimes I find that it kind of separates, and when the machine's trying to stitch it down, it might miss and catch just one of those threads, one of those plies of the yarn, and not hit the others. So you're looking for something with kind of a beefy exterior too, a big diameter. So here's this yarn. I believe it's called, it's a very common yarn to find. It's a cotton yarn, big box stores carry it, and it's just about, it's like what they use for pot holders, right? Now, this is another yarn. Look at this. It's much thinner, isn't it? Well, we want that needle to catch the yarn. So this yarn is so thin, it could bounce around in that opening of the foot, and you might not catch it. So you want a yarn that's kind of beefy enough to fit, to be caught, and thin enough. It's a Goldilocks yarn. You want it to be just right. So this is the one I'm doing, and this is kind of a way I figured out how you can kind of test your yarns. In the handout, I've looked up different yarn types, and I've given you like a chart. And I think this yarn is probably called a DK yarn. I don't know what that means. I'm not a yarn person, but I think it works. So check the handout. Go to moresew.com/shop. My handout's there. Scroll to the very bottom, and all my handouts are. And this is going to give you that chart that you can look and see. Well, if you're going to get some yarn, you might want to get the right one. But one way I figured out is, and yarn crafters do this all the time, it's called WPI, wraps per inch. And it's a great way to tell the thickness of a yarn. You can see that this is the yarn like I'm doing in my little quilt, and I'm sorry, I don't know where I got it. I know it's working beautifully. It's a cotton yarn, I know that, but I don't know the brand. So I have wrapped it around, and within an inch I have 15 wraps, and that kind of gives you an idea of the thickness of this yarn. If I was to wrap this much thinner yarn around, I would have more wraps per inch, right? It means it's a thinner yarn. Now this yarn looks pretty thick, doesn't it? Well, it's loosely woven, which should be your first clue, but it's around a very thin core. It's fluffy, it's a big diameter, but it's very thin in the middle. Here's a novelty yarn. It looks like it might be thick enough, but I don't know, it's kind of flat, it might twist. So having said all of this, well, you're just going to want to experiment. I'm going to show you how it's going to work on the machine here in just a second. But kind of get a yarn that you think's going to work and just do a little test, do a little experiment. And you can see if you want to make a full commitment to your project. Now, the needle has just regular thread in it. You're just doing an embroidery. So if I was going to be doing this color, this yellow, well, I'm going to use probably a yellow thread. Now, the big thing is that I like to get a very thin thread because I want to see the yarn and not necessarily the thread. I like this thread. It's called Quilter Select Para Cotton Poly, and I like it. Why do I like it? It's an 80 weight. It's very thin. Now, I'm doing my quilt, right? And, well, I'm going through all the layers. So I want a color that's going to look good on the back. I'm using like an aqua color for the back of my quilt. But I can use this thread in the bobbin because it's so thin. So, well, that might be something to check out. I like this Para Cotton Poly by Quilter Select. It works really, really good for me. Now, one last thing before we get to the machine is sometimes it's just going to happen. It's going to be okay. Sometimes the needle will miss that yarn, and you'll have a holiday where the needle took a break and it kind of missed. So let me show you what one of those looks like. What I've done is, as I've stitched my little designs, I have put like a safety pin, here it is, I put a safety pin where that has missed. Can you see, let me take the safety pin out. The needle has missed the yarn, right? So it's not a big deal. What you can do is after you finish, you can come back, put your same matching, leave the thread in the machine, top and bottom, and do a little zigzag to hold that down. Now, your machine, actually the Stellair, comes with 3 different free motion feet, and you can do a zigzag in free motion. This is my favorite one. It's the Echo quilting foot. It's not going to catch that yarn as it goes over it. It has a big opening for a zigzag, and I can come along there and I can just zigzag that little spot that it missed. And I'm pretty much good to go. So, a lot of talking, let's get to stitching. So now, I pulled up my design. I have my Y foot on the machine, and I've threaded everything through. Now, if you look up at the top of the machine, what happens is I have my yarn just coming through here. The yarn needs to be able to flow, and it needs to be able to have very minimal resistance on it. I say minimal because you don't want it to be all loose and floppy. If it's all loose and floppy, well, it just doesn't pull through evenly. Let's put it that way. So what I do is I pick my yarn, I put it up through here. You can put the thread stand up here that comes with the Altair. That would be great too. But I like to do it this way, and I just have a loose little like loop up in the top. I pull my yarn back through so that I have a little bit of tail left. You're going to leave a tail on the beginning and the end when you do your yarn couching. Take a big-eyed tapestry needle and just kind of bury it into the layers, or take it behind your whatever you're doing your embroidery couching on, right? So, and on the Stellair, I have the option. Now this is optional. All the yarn couching comes with it, but the 5x7 magnetic frame, that's an option. I love it for doing my quilting. So let's just find a spot we're going to put our next flower on. So can you see this velveteen? This quilt top is pieced with this cotton velveteen. And if I'd done any other stitching, it might just get buried in here. And this fabric is so busy, well, I don't know if you would see it. So that's why I think this yarn couching is ideal for this quilt. Now, I love this hoop because I just laid the quilt down here, and I'm just going to take my magnets and I'm just going to snap them down to hold my quilt in place. And it's the easiest hooping you have ever done. I want to make sure all my safety pins are out of the way. There's that super fine Quilters Select poly right coming down through there. My needle's all threaded. I have a little bit of a tail. I can place my design however I want. I think it needs to come down just a little tiny bit. So I'm going to move it down just a little bit. And all I need to do now is stitch. I'm going to hold it when I very first start because it's kind of floppy. So I'm just going to hold my end, and green means go. So that turned out really pretty. Now that was 6 minutes because what I do for yarn couching, yarn embroidery couching, is I do slow my machine down. So I'm going to take it down to the slowest speed that it can do, which is 350 stitches a minute. That's easy to do right up here in the settings. You're just going to go to max embroidery speed, and I've slowed it down to 350. I think the machine automatically does that when you choose a yarn couching design, but you just want to check and make sure. The other thing to remember is you do not have your standard embroidery foot on. You don't have your W plus foot. Now that W plus foot, what happens is up here, it's going to show that W plus. And that's the foot you're going to use to get your LED light for placement. And you don't have that foot on there. So placement in yarn, embroidery yarn couching, well, you're going to want to make sure that you do it the best that you can, get it approximately where you want to go. You do have your trial key, so you can check it out and see where you want to be. Just remember, you don't have as many functions to use that placement features of the machine, and it has a lot of placement features when you're doing yarn couching, because you don't have that standard foot on there. When you're done with your yarn couching, what you're going to do is you're going to take your foot off. You're going to leave a tail and take that tail. Use like a big chenille needle that you can get the yarn in that has a point, and you're going to bury it through the layers. And, well, I just leave my tails when I sit down. I have a nice beverage and I watch a little TV. It's pretty easy to do. I think I want to do a sheep. I think I have enough yarn, don't you think? You know, there's a lot of different designs that are built in the machine. A lot of different fun yarn couching designs. But I think I want my own design. Do you think we could create a design in my design center for yarn couching? I bet we could, because I really want to do my big fluffy sheep. I think that's another video. So this is bold embroidery. Maybe we should call that one more bold embroidery. Our own bold embroidery, because we're going to go bold or go home, or go big. Go bigger. I don't know. You figure it out. So that's yarn couching. Get out there, get some yarn, and you can have some big bold designs. You might even want to create a design just so that you can do it on there. I'm Cathy. This is Sewing Tech Talk. Thank you so much for watching. George is going to tell you a little bit more about the Stellair. And, well, it's great for all kinds of embroidery, even bold.
Thanks, Cathy. That was an incredible presentation. And so let's go over the special offer we have on the Brother Stellair series. So we have the XJ2, which is their combination sewing and embroidery, and the XE2, which is dedicated embroidery. They both share the same embroidery features, which is a large 9.5 by 14 inch embroidery area with over 780 built-in embroidery designs, and of them, over 100 of them are Disney. It also has over 30 fonts and large, beautiful monograms. And with the fonts, you can edit in all kinds of arrangements. You can arc, you can array, you can even cut and paste and kern it in some custom ways. Speaking of customization, you can take a design and do an automatic applique around it. And with the matrix copy, you can copy this very quickly to make patches. And if we had the scan and cut, we can actually send it to the scan and cut out those patches, and then embroider them beautifully. An additional advanced technology is a new 2-point laser positioning. I can take something like a name and position it perfectly on a line. I can use it to do multiple hoopings and match them perfectly. I can even use it for edge-to-edge quilting. Now, part of what the Stellair series offers is a special relationship with the scan and cut. They actually can marry together, so I can send an applique design right from my machine and it will cut it out perfectly for beautiful applique. But better yet, I can send a design from my scan and cut and turn it into embroidery. It also unlocks a new feature where I can choose one of the colors of my design, whether if it's a built-in design, I can choose that and turn it into applique. But let's take that heart that I sent over. I turn it into embroidery. I select the color, and now it's applique. Now let's bring over the third part of the piece. I want to create my own fabric, and I can do that with Print Moda. I took an image of a rose and I arranged it just in a beautiful kaleidoscope of color. And I printed that fabric and placed it on in the scan and cut. I took my design I created on the Stellair from the scan and cut, sent it over to the scan and cut it out, and I have one complete embroidery design created with that trifecta of creativity. Now the XJ2 also is a sewing machine, and it has a large 11.25 inch opening, beautiful lighting. It has 760 built-in stitches, from quilting stitches to applique to utility. It even has automatic stippling and some beautiful decorative stitches that are very, very wide. It also has an automatic 1/4 inch feature which moves the needle over a 1/4 inch from the foot, and you can use the laser guidance it has on there so you can just do some beautiful piecing. It also has amazing fabric control with an automatic fabric sensor, and this gives you the ability to sense multiple layers like in denim, or if I want to sew on some sheer fabric like this tricot, I can do that beautifully, or even working with elastics. It handles the fabric beautifully. If it's even more extreme, we can add the digital dual feed. This is a belt-driven feed system that gives perfect contact on the fabric. And so you see here with this marine vinyl, there's no slippage. I also can use it with such things as minky, which is hard to sew with, and of course, quilting. For more information on this incredible product, click on the link to see our current special offer. You can email us at customerservice@moores-sew.com or call us at 1-800-865-9664.